What's up, folks? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This week's episodes are brought to you by Ignite. All over the world, companies that have been hit by ransomware attacks have had their valuable digital files held hostage and are forced to decide whether to pay cyber criminals to get them back. And on average, it takes 23 days to recover. That's 23 days of disruption, downtime, and chaos. Look, just in the news, JBS supplies 25% of the nation's meat. They paid cyber criminals $11 million to get back up and running, and the cost of not operating was simply too great. Colonial Pipeline's billing system was compromised by a single leaked password, and they paid $4.4 million and shut down their pipeline for days, causing fuel shortages all over the country and the price of fuel to spike temporarily. Even the city of Atlanta was effectively shut down for 5 whole days due to a ransomware attack in 2018. Ransomware can come for any company in any industry, but small to medium-sized businesses get hurt the worst. They have fewer cyber defenses, so ransomware has more ways to sneak through, smaller teams, so they're slower to recover, and the downtime and reputational damage can be absolutely devastating. That's where Ignite comes in. It's the first ever file system with sophisticated ransomware detection and recovery tools fully baked in. It lets your teams create and share documents in Microsoft 365, Google Docs, Slack, Salesforce, DocuSign, and countless others while keeping your company's data safe. Most of the security software is not designed for optimized UIs. It's designed for security, but that's not the case with Ignite. It's a security tool that teams will actually like using because it's slick and it's easy. And the ransomware detection and mitigation stuff, that runs in the background so your team can work without disruption. Behind the scenes, Ignite gives companies with limited IT and security staff the power of much larger teams. You get total visibility, knowing exactly where key documents are and exactly who has access. You can automatically detect more than 2,000 ransomware variants and flag any unusual behaviors. Ignite is totally turnkey, and it's easy to shut down compromised accounts and quickly identify and restore encrypted files, all from a single cloud-based platform. And there's rapid recovery because if ransomware does sneak through, you can restore your files fast and be back up and running in hours, not days, without having to pay the bad guys one penny. Look, a ransomware attack could be inevitable, but losing your valuable data is not an option, and the right preparation is everything to prevent that from happening. With Ignite, you won't need a specialized security ops team to keep it up. The system's always learning and adapting to new threats, and your team does business like they always have. You can rest easy. So to learn more about how Ignite can protect your business from ransomware, or to see why Ignite is rated #1 for data security by real customers in G2 Crowd, you can start your free trial today at ignite.com with an E. That's EGNYTE.com. EGNYTE.com. It's rated #1 for data security by real customers in the G2 Crowd. So check out Ignite, EGNYTE.com. We're also brought to you by Policy Genius. You guys have heard about Policy Genius, right? This is how it works. The summer's coming to an end, and while Mother Nature does her thing to prepare for the new season, you can do yours by getting free life insurance quotes with Policy Genius. They make it easy to compare quotes from over a dozen top insurers all in one place. Why should you compare quotes? Because you could save 50% or more on your life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. You could save $1,300 or more per year on life insurance by using Policy Genius to compare policies. The licensed experts at Policy Genius work for you. They work for you, not the insurance companies, so you can trust them to help you navigate every step of the shopping and buying process. That kind of service has earned Policy Genius thousands of 5-star reviews across Trustpilot and Google, and eligible applicants can get covered in as little as a week thanks to an award-winning policy option that swaps the standard medical exam requirement for a simple phone call. That's right, no medical exam requirement, just a phone call. This exclusive policy was recently rated #1 by Forbes Advisor, higher than options from Ladder, Ethos, and Bestow. Getting started is super easy. Just head over to policygenius.com/smoking tire. In just minutes, you can work out how much life insurance coverage you need, compare personalized quotes to find your best price. And then when you're ready to apply, the Policy Genius team will handle the paperwork and scheduling for free. Policy Genius doesn't add any extra fees. Remember, you don't pay them. It is brilliant. They add no extra fees. So head over to policygenius.com/smoking tire to get started right now. Policy Genius, when it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. Of course, we're also brought to you today by Talkspace. Talkspace is brilliant because basically it's online therapy, right? I've been talking about my anxiety, my panic attacks, and my mental issues on this podcast for some time now. And apparently, a lot of you are feeling the same way because many of you have written nice notes to me, thanking me for talking about it. And the implication is maybe you don't have someone to talk about your issues with. And for a long time, I went to therapy in person, but then pandemic hit, and even my real in-person therapist went virtual. So almost all therapy is virtual right now. So why not Talkspace? Meeting with a therapist to work on your mental health is just as helpful as hiring a personal trainer to work on your physical health, and the positive impact can be just as life-changing. Talkspace makes it possible to speak with a licensed therapist right from your phone, tablet, or computer. And unlike traditional therapy, you can message your therapist anytime via text, video, or voice. It's 100% secure. It's stigma-free, the way that therapy should be. Now, with my therapist, right, I have like a weekly, once a week thing, but I don't have 100% anytime round the clock, like via text. I don't really do that. I like that Talkspace is offering that, right? But it shouldn't be like, especially with men, they're really concerned about looking weak or feeling weak. And the idea of like getting in your car and going to a therapist only kind of emphasizes that. The fact that you can do it at home, privately, on your own time, message them whenever you need to. It has all the benefits of therapy without the hassle of appointments or a week or more between conversations. More importantly, a lot of people ask me, like, how do I actually find a therapist? I'm fortunate that I have some friends who have done therapy, and so I was able to just get a personal recommendation. But maybe if you don't have that and you're wondering how to start or where to find somebody, you should definitely check out Talkspace first. Your privacy and security are their number one priority. The app puts you into a private room with just you and your therapist. You can send messages 24/7 and no need to wait for a weekly appointment. And their encryption and added security features keep your conversation fully protected. Now, whether you're struggling with anxiety like me, depression, self-doubt, or anything else, Talkspace gives you access to the help you need to move forward. Facing those obstacles isn't easy, and you don't win a prize for doing it alone. Getting professional help, it doesn't make you weird, it doesn't make you weak, it's smart. Like, I know a lot of people who think that they know themselves. Like, I don't need a therapist because I understand myself. I've found that in those situations, they know just enough about themselves to get into trouble mentally, but they don't have the strategy to get themselves out of it. And that's what therapy does. It gives you strategies to dig yourself out of those mental holes. And you don't want to leave it to chance. You don't want to trust yourself, or you don't want the amateur advice of well-meaning friends and family. Sometimes the last person you want is your friends or your family. Talk to someone who's trained to help you make lasting progress. So join Talkspace today. Start moving forward with a single message. Just visit Talkspace.com and get $100 off your first month with promo code TIRE at signup. That's $100 off at Talkspace.com. All you have to do is use promo code TIRE. Talkspace.com, promo code TIRE. All right, that's it. If you don't want to hear me read ads ever again, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/thesmokingtire. You can get in on the live shows and ask us questions. You can get an ad-free listening experience, and you can get the shows aired instantly after they're recorded without having to wait to our normal Tuesday, Thursday air dates. All those benefits are exclusively for our Patreon patrons at patreon.com/thesmokingtirepodcast. All right, on this show, our old pal Alana Scheer is in the house. She is one of the most prolific automotive journalists working today. She has written for basically every A-level magazine out there and every website. She has recently finished her book about Don the Snake Prudhomme, and she'll be talking about that, as well as her cross-country road trip for Hemmings with Mike Musto. And whatever it is she has been driving, it's probably a lot. It's Alana Scheer from everywhere on the Smoking Tire Podcast.
I mean, all you have to do is talk to any woman who's wearing like jeans that have a rip in them and be like, what do the men say to you at car shows? And they'll be like, some kind of real weird grandpa joke about how I can't afford jeans that don't have holes in them. And it's like,
I paid extra for that hole.
It's like,
it's a handmade hole.
Dude, like, how old are you? Like, did you miss the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the grunge era?
Well, there's some, I mean, I see some on some Venice Beach fashion, which has really taken some to the extreme, where the holes, and I'm sure this is fashionable, because I'm not fashionable, but where the holes are the majority of the front of the pants.
It's like shorts with like a mullet of jean in the back.
Well, it's like if you imagine the Hudson River with the bridges going across it. That's
I know.
pretty much what we're looking at. Hannah just bought a new pair of jeans that has holes in them. And her first time putting it on, the big toe goes through the hole and just rips it and makes it. I had a holes in my pants phase for a minute, and I had that problem. The toe when you put it on, you gotta be real careful.
Or like if you bend down for something and then you go to get up, but like your kneecap catches in it, which is both uncomfortable and rips the jeans. Yeah,
you have to be very careful to be fashionable. You can't.
It's true.
That's probably why car people can't be fashionable, because we don't have that dexterity. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like fashionable people don't do much other than being fashionable, right? Like
that's not fair.
No, not that they don't do other things. I mean, like their physical action while being fashionable.
Yes, right.
Minimal.
Yeah, they're not fashionable like while changing an oil filter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I mean, I've always thought that about heels, like high heels, because it's like basically you can wear them to do things as long as those things are mostly sitting.
Right. Like, well, that was always my, if I was making an honest advertisement for the Yeezy, the shoe, it would be the perfect athletic shoe for watching television. It has no support whatsoever.
Yeah.
If you tried to like do like a football, like a deke, your foot would just tear the upper right off the sole. Like there's no structure to it at all. And the heel is the same thing. You can't do any athletics in heels. If you ever see a woman or a drag queen or a transgendered person running in heels, what a feat of athleticism, frankly.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
I wore heels all through college, and I was talking about it with my old college roommate. I'm like, how did we do that? Because like, we went to parties and like Echo Park and like went up those hills and all those stairs and stuff, and like wore them to school and stuff, like wore them all day long. And she's like, oh, we were drunk all the time.
Yeah,
like,
being wasted.
Right, yeah, totally.
That's the same way you dealt with the emotional pain of that period, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe I'm just talking about myself. I don't know.
Completely, 100%.
Yeah. Fortunately, with someone of my stature, at the time that I was trying to be fashionable, it was big clothes. So I was able to do certain things in relative comfort by wearing like triple XL, big baggy shit.
Yeah, and like what were those like? The cool jeans then were like the.
Oh, you mean like Jinkos?
Yeah, and like carpentry related. Like
they had like the UFO pants, right? Those were for the ravers, where they had the strings and shit, but also cargo pockets.
Yeah,
but we had the Jinkos, which was where the bottoms was about how big the bottoms were.
Yeah, and that was around the same time as, was it Crisscross, the ones who wore them backwards?
Well, Crisscross was like early 90s. That was like 93, and they were fucking kids. Crisscross was like, they were 12. And then like skater punks.
Right.
Sort of the post-Sublime into new metal era. That was where we had the Jinkos, where you had a third measurement. It was waist length bottoms.
Right.
You know, and then when the shit started to get like tight, That's when I had a problem.
That's when Zach came into his own.
I was baggy pants back then too, man. I was wearing cross-color shorts when I was a kid, like waist size 42, and I had to have the woven belt because it was like infinitely adjustable, and I just fold it over and crank it down.
Yeah, or you had like pants. The whole like the whole thigh length string hanging down from it, like all of it.
With like the Jamaican flag.
I had the wallet chain. I was a big wallet chain for most of high school.
Yeah.
That was a thing. I don't know who was going to steal my wallet, but I really liked having that chain hanging. You know who's the only fashionable car person I know? Well, there's Ralph Lauren, but you know, Donald Osborne.
Yeah.
I mean, Donald Osborne, he's got fucking outfits that'll just kill. I was up at the Audrain concourse. Every time I saw this dude, his outfit was killing it. He looked like he could have gotten married on any day of that event.
Yeah.
But yeah, now all I care about is just give me a T-shirt that fits really good. These are, I bought like a dozen of these. Vawori, it's the Lululemon for people who don't want to say they're wearing Lululemon. And it's like, this shirt is the most game over shirt I've ever put on because it's that like stretchy stuff.
Yeah.
You know my thing in sweat. I'm very sweaty, and I
didn't know that.
But you could have guessed, frankly. It's my least comfortable state by far.
Yeah.
If I start to get sweaty in public, I will then have a panic attack about being sweaty, and it will make me more sweaty, and you don't want to be around me if that happens. It's not good. This shirt, I could go do a whole Pilates class right now in this shirt, and you won't see fucking sweat. It's incredible. Fat guys, get about that Vawori. I'm serious. It's the best shirt.
Wait, are we recording?
Oh yeah. Oh
For
yeah.
the well-insulated gentleman.
Oh yeah. Get about this shirt because I bought one and then I went, hold on a minute. This is what this does, and I went back and I bought 12 more, and they're not that expensive either. I mean, they're like, I don't know, maybe they're like $40 each. There's a lot for a T-shirt, but not a lot for a great T-shirt.
It's not a lot for your personal comfort.
No, not when it's something you literally go back and look at the streams, folks. I wear these fucking things every single day. There they are. Yeah, they rule. And don't look at that guy in the fucking top. He's very thin. He would look good in anything. It looks good on me too.
It does.
How are you?
I think it does. I'm great. I was thinking on the drive down here about how it's been ages since we've caught up and talked. Like I think you
said that when you came in the building, but I don't feel like it's been all that long. Or has time just flown?
I've never done one here.
The fuck out of
here.
She
was here at the opening.
I was here at the party.
Oh, maybe we just hung out somewhere.
We hung out, and then we had dinner.
Oh yeah,
and we had like cat time.
That's why it felt like I was like, it's not been that long. But you haven't been in the studio before?
I haven't been in the studio
Isn't it
before.
nice?
It's so nice.
It's a great place to do radio, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like we both have been through like 2 more careers since the last time we talked.
You probably more than me. Yeah, you have like 75 careers going on.
Yeah, just one now.
I'm sorry about this thing about Don not being able to be here. We're going to circle back on that.
Yeah.
Did Zach explain to you our scheduling snafu thing?
It's fine. I had a book. I had a copy of the book that I had set aside to bring to you, and then I forgot it, which is a really good example of how good I am at self-promoting.
It gives you another reason to come back and do it again with Don, because that's going to happen.
It
just couldn't happen today. We're talking about Don Prudhomme, the snake, legendary drag racer. Zach and I are making this series with eBay Motors.
See, new career.
Well, it's short series. It's short, and it's like, it's basically a Top Gear shitbox challenge. Fundamentally, we hypothesize about a problem that needs to be solved, and we solve it by buying shitboxes on eBay Motors, modifying them with parts on eBay Motors, and then having a series of challenges. It's really a totally unique formula that's never been done before, ever.
It hasn't been done by you.
It's going to be so fun.
It's going to be really fun, but what was going to happen, the reason we were going to bump today's show is because we're filming this in Texas, the series. And it's not because we believe in their political situation. It's because if you need to rent 2 separate motorsport facilities in close proximity to each other on a budget, that's really the best place to do it. It's not California or anywhere in between the 2 states. And so the plan was to buy cars down there And so this was when we were going to do that. We were going to be in Texas this week buying these cars.
Why are you not?
Well, as it turns out, the state of used cars in Texas is fucking trash. If you want a used F-150 base, that's where you buy it. But if you want interesting passenger cars that have some kind of social relevance to what we need, there ain't shit in Texas.
Well, I mean, it is pretty much the worst time ever to do any sort of car buying show since
it is
also that
everything is a bajillion times more expensive than it should be because there aren't any new cars.
It is, although at the price point we were shopping, that wasn't really an issue. That market is not really. but we actually found that it would be easier, more cost effective, and certainly more time efficient to buy the cars in LA and then just fucking throw them on a truck. So we're not in Texas, and that's why we flip-flopped.
Well, I'm very happy to see you guys.
I'm happy, so happy you're here. And you rolled up in the Opal?
I sure
I love
did.
that car.
Parked it in your electric
Love that
car
car.
charging spot.
Did they put a tray under it? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I mean, I haven't checked in the last 2 days, but I believe it's not leaking.
Woohoo! It's okay.
I'm not promising.
Even if it is, I have a staff. I'll make them clean the fucking driveway.
I think
Power
you could
wash.
I'll
park
send
two
them
of those
flowers.
side by side in a normal parking spot. Like, look,
They're
I
it's
took
so
a picture from the
tiny.
overhead.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
so little.
It's real wee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you compared the footprint of an Opal to that of like a smart car?
I haven't compared it to a smart car, but I did once lose it behind a Miata.
That would be a really funny visual. Like if you got a Miata press car and you did like a crane drop shot where it completely disappeared behind the Miata, that'd be funny.
Somewhere I have a photo of it next to a Miata. And when Tom and I Tom and I have been doing YouTube videos for a while now, just on our own cars. And when we did the drive of the Opal, we parked it behind I think it was a press car charger or something, and you literally could not see it for a long time. There's a long walk up.
That's so funny. You and Tom own the smallest and the biggest cars. You have probably the biggest spread in size of vehicle. Because I don't know a lot of people that own a TRX and a Miata. You know what I mean? It's not really a crossover.
People do tend to kind of have a size preference. But I mean, I don't understand. I feel I've never understood people who have multiples of the same car. And I say that as somebody who owns 2 ramp trucks, but we don't plan to own 2 forever. I'm why would you I mean, I guess you know it, right? It's like a familiar friend, and you have all the parts, and it's easy to swap things around. And I mean, I get it.
There's people that are diehard enthusiasts of one type of car. And so they see a value in having small little variants. So I've got the sedan and the convertible and the coupe. And there's other folks I think you and I that like to have one car per genre.
Yeah, for needs. What are my needs?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's if you're going to have 7 cars, you should have a car for every need. Yeah. Not I've got 7 sports cars, but today I need a truck and I don't have anything.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, and that's a reasonable need. I'm thinking needs what do I have that has hilarious headlights?
That's a good one too.
What do I have that could conceivably win World War II? We just bought a Jeep.
Oh, really? Like a Willys Jeep?
A Ford version, but yes.
Oh, yeah.
A Ford version?
Yeah, so...
What's a Ford Willys Jeep?
Well, it's a Ford GPW.
Does it look just like a Willys?
Yes, it is exactly the same thing.
Zach will get a picture of it, I'm sure.
So, all right, you ready for some nerd stuff? Yeah. So basically...
I feel like I kind of knew about this.
Yeah, you knew this.
But do tell. Yeah.
Basically, when they decided to build the utility vehicle for World War II, they didn't want to put all of their eggs in one basket. They didn't think any one company could make enough of them. And so there were multiple companies building them, mostly Willis and Ford.
Are they on, is it identical?
Yeah, it's off of the Willis blueprint.
Okay.
And
does it have a Willis engine?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So it's exactly the same because they wanted to be able to swap parts back and forth.
Course.
But the only really big difference, which I think is very funny and very Ford, is that all of the fasteners, if you have an original one, have an F in them because Ford was like, "No, you're going to know that I did this."
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
That I did.
That makes sense. Are the F fasteners better?
Ford would probably say so.
They probably would. Someone rolled up to stop by for a tour a couple weeks ago in the worst most dangerous looking World War II era Jeep I've ever. I mean, any of those things look super fucking sketchy on the road, but this one had holes in the floor, and I mean, it looked like anything could fall off it at any second. It was so sketchy.
Did you drive it?
No, I would. It was too sketchy. I wouldn't. They offered. I was like, fuck no.
Have you driven one?
Like
a stock one?
I've been in one. I didn't actually attempt. Oh no, not a. You know which one I drove? I drove like an EV converted one.
Oh, that sounds fun.
That was interesting. I don't know if I'd call it fun. It was cool.
Come up and drive mine. So it's a 1942 Ford GP. It's dead stock. Like
Okay.
it's like what
It works?
Yeah, totally works. It's what the soldiers drove. It's 3-speed. It's really, really fun to drive. Like really fun. I thought it was going to be.
That's the one
Does
I
it
drove.
shake and weave around?
Which
a
is
bit?
not.
I mean, if you get up to like 45.
Oh, well, that's crazy.
Is that
speed,
the top
though.
speed?
What are you trying to fly?
How flat is it?
Yeah. Have you driven off road in it yet?
I mean, not unless driving it around the dirt part of the park for photos counts. But it's actually like I was expecting it to be really difficult to drive. I thought it was going to be like you gotta like double clutch it and non-synchronized gears and all this. No, it drives basically like a new Jeep,
Like
only slower.
like a CJ.
You're like, serious? I'm not kidding. It really does. Like, I mean, I'm sure Jeep won't be stoked that I said that.
I mean, it's
I'm
just
saying
a basic,
that with love.
like it's like a 3-speed manual, right? Or
Yeah,
is it 4-speed? 3-speed
3-speed,
manual,
yeah.
and it got a regular clutch, and
Yeah, and it just, it's great. You're like, seriously, you're gonna love it.
it's like 40 horsepower, right?
Yeah.
And it's 4x4, or it's rear-wheel drive. It's 4x4.
No, it's got a.
And it's selectable. Mm-hmm. Wow.
It actually has a low range and a high range, so technically it's a 6-speed.
Ooh, shit!
And wasn't it a big inspiration for the original Bronco? Was like GIs came back and they were driving these around and they drive like shit, and the complaints were that these drive like shit and they go 40 miles an hour, and so Ford was like, all right, let's try and make something that will sell to that market but doesn't handle quite as terribly.
I believe that that's accurate. It sounds good.
I mean, it's certainly a good story if it's
Said
not
with
true.
confidence.
The one that I was driving, that bare metal one, was actually a Filipino knockoff that someone had imported the body, and AI design made it EV, and it was going to be like their Martha's Vineyard car, which is, I mean, it would be a perfect fucking Martha's Vineyard car. An EV converted one of those, and I drove it in a snowy, icy rally stage, and it was pretty fucking miserable. I was very cold.
Dude,
I couldn't
speaking of
fit my legs
miserable,
in it. It was bad.
Speaking of miserable, the Rebelle Rally is happening right now. Mm-hmm. And, I did it last year. And briefly, when, as people were getting ready to go this year, I was like, oh, I wish I was going with all my buds. And then I've been, looking at the updates. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm so glad I'm not doing it.
Is it not going well?
I mean, I think it's, people are doing well, but it's the weather this year has been hellish.
Oh, really?
Like full-on windstorms, dirt. I heard everybody had to sleep in the cars last night.
Because the tents were getting blown over kind of thing? Oh, that sucks.
And it's funny because I think a lot of people misunderstand that event. I've seen people talk about it on Twitter and stuff. And they're like, oh, it's like glamping. It's this glamorous all women's off-road rally. Dude, it is so hard.
I've never heard it referred to as
hard.
glamorous. I think people are grossly misunderstanding
I think
the
they
level
look
of
at the
glamour.
photos.
Sure, it's very Instagrammable. That's not
Yes.
the same thing as being...
Well,
I mean, that's life, isn't it?
Right.
You look at the photos on Instagram, and it seems like everybody has the best life ever.
Yeah.
If my Instagram accurately represented my life, then every hour it was just me at my keyboard doing emails with once a week something really cool happening.
If my Instagram accurately reflected my life, it would just be my step counter at 34 at 4 p.m.
It would be, my Instagram would be 99% cats and keyboards, and then 1% driving cars, pretty much, yeah. No, I mean, oh shit, look at that. That is a windstorm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Base camp life.
That makes me want to cry.
Oh my God, that looks fucking brutal. It really.
Right?
We're looking at it for the audio people. That is probably a 40 mile an hour, 45 mile an hour wind with really, really brutal dust
sand,
and
whiteout.
It
That's
looks
fucked
like
up. Yeah,
a
I wouldn't even get
blizzard
out of the car.
of sand.
You're getting your skin is coming off if you get out of the car in that.
God
That's
forbid you
nasty.
have to work on your vehicle right then.
Oh, dude, look at these folks trying to fucking set up their rooftop tent and really, really struggling at it. This doesn't look like glamping at all. This looks brutal.
No, it's so hard. It's so hard. So I wanted to be somewhere and sort of just like shout out to those gals because they are suffering.
Oh, who was who did we just? I just saw the Cayenne. Who was driving the Cayenne this year? Was it?
There's actually 3 Porsches. Abby.
Was it
Bassett,
Abby? Abby was right. She's coming on the show in a couple weeks when she gets
great.
back. Yeah.
I bet she's got regrets right now.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, oh, cool, Cayenne, and she was like, Cayennes are nice on the inside, but I actually am not 100% confident with the serious off-roading ability of this Cayenne.
Well, I mean, the nice thing about that event is that the serious off-roading, like she's in the class for the crossovers, and like in theory, the course for the crossovers is difficult but not impossible, even with minimal.
I didn't realize it was different courses.
Yeah, they have 2 courses. They have like a full-on like 4x4 course, and then they have a crossover, which is what I did in the Bronco Sport last year. And so if you stay on course, it's not that difficult. If, like me, you and your navigator are not so good at what you're doing, you might end up in some more difficult off-roading. But even then, I mean, we managed to do it with the Bronco Sport, so I'm sure
Bronco Sport's pretty good off-road.
It's not bad.
We took it up our standard trail. Have you ever been up Rower?
Yeah.
You know Rower? You know
Sure.
the Pioneer
The flats.
Trail?
Mm-hmm.
The if you go to Rower Flats and you go all the way to the end of the dirt road, that one trail that's pretty tough that goes up and over, that's where we test all of our 4x4s.
Yeah.
And it did it fucking great. It was good.
Yeah, my only complaint about it was ground clearance. Yeah, I knocked off a couple things, but I zip tied them back on, so
Nothing too important, I hope.
nothing that stopped us.
There's the
So I think
Joey's got a truck.
Yeah, it's one of Joey's trucks.
Yeah. I think that might be the same truck that I drove in the video.
Probably.
The white
It's
one
like
with
his,
the gray?
his demo truck, right?
Yeah, I think that's the truck that I drove for my Haggerty show. Yeah, that thing ruled. Joey builds a really nice Cayenne. That is someone who gives a fuck. I mean, he really cares about those things being very good.
Rebelle Rally, is it navigation's only with compass and maps? GPS is a backup?
No
Or-
GPS. There
Emergency
is no
beacon.
backup.
Rescue me with a helicopter beacon if I need it, right?
Yeah. Rescue you with a satellite phone, basically.
Oh, okay. Because they had one shot in the Instagram of someone holding like a Garmin GPS in their hand, but that might have been, we're stuck, help. I don't know.
Maybe what they were holding was the checkpoint clicker.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have a GPS related checkpoint clicker. So basically, the way that it works is you're given maps every morning, and you're given checkpoints with coordinates. Sometimes you're given checkpoints that are like directional from your last coordinate, and you have to map that stuff out on your big paper map, and then you go out into the world, which looks so different than a paper map.
Oh, it definitely does.
And you're looking for various different checkpoints. There's like very easy ones that are like the green ones. There's a big flag and a lot of people there. There are harder ones which are blue. Sometimes it's a flag and sometimes it's just like a little like 3-foot pole in the ground. And then there are what's called black checkpoints, which have no marker. It's just about feeling like you're right in your measurements. And the way that they get your points is every time you get to one of those checkpoints, you click a GPS
and it
tracker,
tracks
and
your
it
point.
sends your ping up and back.
Got it.
And
so that's why you can't click, like, you can't be 500 feet from the black checkpoint and just go, oh, I'm close enough, and then, because they'll see your actual location.
Yeah,
right?
and there you get different points depending on how close you are to it.
Super cool.
So.
I mean, even just when Zach and I did the backcountry discovery routes, which are incredibly well marked, and we had a GPS, and we had a paper map, even then, you know, like if you're just going by the paper map and not really laying on the GPS, like you're on actual trails. You're not just in the wild, and like the real world doesn't look anything like it. I mean, when you boil tens of miles down to an inch or two on a map, like you don't see these like sometimes pretty big turns you have to make, or, you know, bends in the trail or whatever elevation that, you know, isn't even enough to register on this paper map, but it's like you actually do have to drive over like a big hill. It's just, it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty thrilling when I did it, and we actually found what we were looking for. Like, I understand why people come back and do this a lot. In the end, for me, I think I kind of prefer my off-roading to be non-competitive. Like, we would get back at the end of these days and people would be like, wasn't that beautiful what you just drove through? I'd be like, fuck if I know. Like all I remember is like some big rocks and like trying to figure out like, is this like weird little like ridge that looks like a penis? Is that penis or is it like the one that's over there? Like,
why does everything got to look like a penis?
Why does everything look like a penis?
Because it's a male world.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like
Nature's
whenever
so sexist.
whenever Zach and I drive off-road trucks, it always seems to come up in conversation that like I like off-roading because it allows me to see the beautiful stuff that you don't see from the highways. I don't have that sort of ego about, well, my truck got over this obstacle and your truck can't, so my truck's better. It's more like, well, my truck kept me comfortable and I got way out here and look at this beautiful shit. Isn't this nice? And that makes me happy.
I once had a conversation with Nina Barlow. Do you guys know Nina?
I know that name. Who's that?
She runs a guide, off-road guide company in Arizona. She does a lot of work with both Jeep and with Ford on like trainings. She's probably been at press events that you've been. She's awesome. You guys should totally have her on the show if she's ever in California. But so she does a lot of off-road training, and I was with her once, and we were doing, it was like one of those press things, and where they're sending you through like some big articulation, and I was like, Nina, am I dumb? But like, if I went this way to the right, couldn't I just like avoid this big articulation? And she was like, yes. And I'm like, wouldn't I
do that?
To do that? and she was like, well, that's not like the mindset. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. But like, that's kind of the way that I off-road.
I'm with you. If I can get from here to here without a road and it's like go over some crazy thing or just go right around it, like I'm just going to go fucking around it. Be in the same place afterwards. Yeah, same view.
I admit it's not cool. It's not a cool way of off-roading, but I think it's nice. I guess I just like the feeling of being off-road because you feel like you've kind of like stuck it to the man a little bit. Like, I don't need your roads. I can just like go where I want to go and like see stuff. But like, I don't really feel like I need to like conquer nature, like just crush it to dust beneath my wheels.
I'm actually with you. That's why I really like Range Rovers and not like super aggressive, Wrangler builds with 37s and no fenders and shit. Like, because a Range Rover will get me out so far out there so easily, so comfortably. Like, that's why I really like trucks like that, because like I'm so much less tired when I get there, you know what I mean? And I actually have energy left to like enjoy the nature. Like, I haven't done any EV off-roading yet, but I'm really excited to do some EV off-roading.
I think it's such a good, once they figure out, obviously like range stuff, but like, I think it's such a good matchup of technology and like use case, because one of the things that I think is a big bummer about off-road is, I feel like I'm like betraying my people right now, Zach, is how loud it is, right? Like, you're in this incredible place and you're so loud that you're scaring away every animal, every bird. You're like, people know where you are. You're bouncing off of all the canyons. Like you go to Moab and,
it's loud.
And like, it's just ATV sound for like hundreds of miles.
and even if you're not moving, you're just trying to like enjoy the vista. Yeah. And then you hear,
which is awesome if you're like racing Baja, but I feel like it's kind of a bummer if you're just camping.
Well, if you're like by yourself and out in nature, it totally makes sense. It's like driving. It's the same thing on roads, up in the canyons, while there's a visceral experience associated with like echoing some fucking straight piped Ferrari off the canyon walls. Having done silent canyoning in a Taycan Turbo S, not,
Okay, you lost me now. No.
Come on. There's, it's a different experience and it's fun in its own way. And I think like driving PCH up by Big Sur in a convertible EV sports car would be a rewarding experience in its own way, because you just feel like the nature is coming in. Same thing with boats, dude. I like to sail. You know what I mean? I like a powerboat too because of where it can get me and the speed it can get me there. But we've been sailing, and turning off the engine and being a part of the ocean on the ocean's terms is really awesome. You're feeling like you're not ruining that vibe with your noise, you know? It's good.
Yeah, I'm okay with some quiet time.
Is it okay that the GM's first real major EV is a 9,000-pound truck that is like fast enough to mow down like hundreds of pedestrians with one errant foot stab?
And like weighs as much as a building.
I read an article that said the new Hummer EV is 50% overweight for the Brooklyn Bridge's requirements.
Wow.
The Brooklyn Bridge has a 2-ton limit for passenger vehicles, and this is 50% over that.
Well, I mean, I think that EVs will never be equal to gas cars until you can have really foolish usages of the tech. So I'm not mad. Like, go for it.
Well, I mean, yeah, and Stellantis is all about like murdering the blacktop with EV torque. Like their ad campaign is like almost like violent. It's intense. Like this is what we have to do to make EVs appealing in America.
But that's what a lot of Stellantis' other cars, like that was the image that they kind of gave to the consumer. So they need
Hellcat everything.
Right, exactly. And just like, you know, smoky burnouts, noise, intimidation, it's the demon, it's the Hellcat, whatever. And then of course Scat Pack's a weird anomaly. But like,
and then here's one that sounds like poo.
Look, it has brand history. Okay.
Don't get me wrong. Like I think the Hummer is neat, the new one, and I've seen the crab walking videos. I'm like, I want to fucking try that. That seems cool. But man, that seems like the wrong image to be talking about saving the world with, you know.
But they're not really talking about saving the world. I mean, really, I think a lot of the EV stuff right now that we're in is about convincing people, especially the people who are needed to build the infrastructure, that this is a technology that like is worth going mainstream. You know, we talk about it all the time in automotive journalism. If you like read what we're writing about it, you'd think like we're already like halfway there with EV takeover or something. And it's like this
it's like 2%
tiny
right
portion. And I just did a story that'll be in the next Car and Driver, where I did a road trip in the Audi e-tron RS and GTRS. And
was it a struggle?
We
talked about this last show. How did it go for you?
It was not a struggle, but it was inconvenient.
That's the right word.
And
where did you go?
I drove from Colorado to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and back.
Why did you choose that starting and end point?
I was chasing a train.
Oh,
because that was what I wanted to do. Was
it one of those pretty trains?
It was. It was the last. It was a restored last steam train that ever ran.
That's fucking cool.
In production or in.
What was the name of the train? Do you remember?
The Big Boy.
Oh.
Engine 4014. It used to be
the Big Boy engine. I love trains. Let me see what that looks like.
It used to be in Pomona.
The Big Boy train.
Yeah.
The Union. Oh yes, Union Pacific Big Boy. That fucker's running still.
They restored it about 2 years ago, and it goes on tour.
Look at that.
And dude, I had fucking feelings, man. I thought it was gonna.
Look at that picture of it in front of all those people. That's for scale. That's a fucking enormous train.
It's so big. It's super cool. And I wanted a challenge that was like, because it's not hard to go on a road trip in an EV anymore, especially if you go in a Tesla. Like there are charging stations, you can like plan out your route, whatever. But to me, what a car offers is this freedom to kind of do something a little bit crazy on a whim. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to see if I could do that in an electric car. Mm-hmm. And so chasing the train is like, I didn't have all the options that you have on a normal road trip. Like the train is doing what it's doing at the time it's doing it. And if I miss it, I can't stop. You know, I can't, I have to keep up with it. And and I have to go where it's going.
It's not like it's running on the most convenient propulsion system either.
Exactly.
Look at the entire state of Wyoming. It looks like has 0 Electrify America chargers.
Well, you know, it was exciting, but I don't want to give it all away. So that'll be a Car and Driver story.
Wow. That's gonna be fun. And RS GT it's a nice car, isn't it?
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it.
It's very Zach and I drove it, and it's really like it's as opposed to the Taycan, it's like an Audi that happens to be electric. They haven't like shoved its electricness in your face. It, for the most part, operates like an Audi.
It's like a more subtle Taycan.
Yeah.
Like it basically, performance-wise, is about the same, I think.
Only in a straight line.
Yeah.
The handling of the Taycan is vastly superior to
Do you think so?
Yeah. I found the RS e-tron GT to be incredibly crashable. Because it has the power of the Taycan, but it doesn't have that really low center of gravity that the Taycan has. The Taycan is sunk down further in the chassis, and the Taycan comes with, at least the higher end Taycans, come with a lot more tire, a better tire. And so if you go watch our RS e-tron GT video, the tire squeal is extraordinary.
You had the RS and not the brake, like... Because I know
we drove both, but we only did a video with the RS.
Yeah, because I've only driven the base Taycan, and then I've driven both the GTs, and I found the RS has different tires than the regular GT.
It does, yeah. It does, but they're still not what you get with a Taycan Turbo S, which is a really phenomenal handling vehicle. Don't get me wrong, the RS was really nice, but when we went to go drive it, Mark Donkey at Audi, he was like, listen, be careful. We only have so many. And I'm like, Mark, all we're doing is going in the canyons. Like, what could fucking happen? And then once we got up there, I was like, holy shit, this thing has way more power than it does tire. And if you're not paying attention, you could fucking crash the shit out of this thing. It was a really nice car, but it just didn't have the grip for something that was almost 700 horsepower. And so, do you... Going back to what you said before, that we live in the sort of an EV bubble a little bit, being A, in LA, and B, in this automotive journalist circle. I saw some ridiculous article circulating on Twitter the other day that said that predicted that EVs will be 50% of the market by 2023. And my eyes rolled out of my asshole.
What are they right now, like 2%?
2. It's a 2. It's ridiculous. And if you don't live in a major city, it's just not realistic.
I mean, I've been kind of engaging in battles about what range needs to be for there to be more mainstream or widespread adoption of EVs. Because like there'll be people. I mean, there are car manufacturers who are like 150 is plenty for like a city commuter car, and I'm like. How do you imagine people live? And also, what do you mean by like city? Because like when I lived in the city, when I lived in Hollywood, I would not have been able to charge a car anywhere at my house. Like not in my apartment, not even when I had a house. Like that would not have been possible. Nobody else in my neighborhood would have been able to charge. I mean, when the kind of places that I was working, I wouldn't have had like they have this like imaginary vision of everyone having charging ability in some sort of like parking spot garage and like working somewhere with some sort of charging garage. And like that hasn't been my experience at all.
It's not been ours either. The Mach-E, which we really like, gets a legitimate 300 miles if you drive it carefully. You know what I mean? If you keep it under 80, pretty much, it'll go 300 miles. And most of the time, granted, most of the time we're doing less than 30 miles a day. Most of the time. Sometimes, though, I'm doing 150, 170 miles in a day. That can happen. That's like a reasonable thing. And so I do understand the not wanting to buy more than you need. And I don't think that ultimate range is really as important as availability of fast chargers. The range becomes less important the more the infrastructure. The range is only a thing because there's such a shit infrastructure right now. You know what I mean? And so I wouldn't mind a $30,000 150-mile EV if every town of over 1,500 people had one 150 kilowatt charger in it. You know what I mean? But like we were just talking about this last show, I went on a road trip last week with Hannah. We went to Solvang and Los Olivos and Central Coast wineries, right? Yep. There is Solvang itself has the only high-speed charger in that entire region. Everything else is a 6 kilowatt fucking nothing for nothing charger. And so we, even with a 300-mile range, even doing math, which we were doing, and even I was doing more math in my head. Hannah was like, this is kind of inconvenient with an electric car. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Like, even planning, it required more thought than I really want to put into it. But if some of the smaller towns had a 150 charger, and obviously just these chargers aren't going to appear out of nowhere. It either needs to be a business case for somebody or it needs to be a government utility or some combination of the two. But if I could have done a quick 20 minutes on a 150 somewhere without having to drive 30 miles to Solvang to do it, that would have made our lives a lot easier. And I suspect others feel the same way. I don't want to project my own needs onto everybody.
I will. I'm going to project my own needs onto everybody because I think that, for me, one of the problems with electric cars is they require being a person who does planning.
Yes.
They require being a person who sticks to the plan. I don't remember to plug my cell phone in it. I have probably 7 different chargers plugged in around my house. And I will not plug it in. I will often wake up in the morning and be like,
5%. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Good start to the day.
Yeah.
Am I a general failure? Yes. But I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. And so and the thing with, crazily enough, the thing with a gasoline powered car is you can be an absolute shit show and still kind of muddle through the world. Mm-hmm. Like realizing you're about to run out of gas and coasting on fumes into a gas station in a place you've never been before. If you
not to mention if you run out of gas, someone can bring you gas.
Yeah, they can bring you gas.
You know what I mean?
They can fix your problem in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Hannah asked me that. She goes, what happens if we run out of charge? Is someone going to bring a generator and charge the car? And I go, no, we fucking call a flatbed and they tow us to a charger.
I just wrote a column about that.
Yeah. Although it could be interesting if there were, I suppose, like AAA had generator trucks.
They're working on it.
Are they really?
Yeah, just
that's
wrote
in
a
your
column.
Good.
It's online now.
Is it for car and driver?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, now that actually sounds interesting. What speed can a generator truck charge at?
Well, it depends, and they don't have a very efficient one because and then it's like you're going back to gas for diesel for the generator.
Right. Well, obviously, no, it's not a clean solution. Yeah. It's a get you off the side of the road solution.
They don't currently do it because it's less efficient than just
towing you to a charger.
Because leaving, staying there on the side of the road while you're charging is unsafe for both the driver of the truck and yourself.
Right, a Tesla on autopilot could smash into both of you.
Exactly.
It's not the Tesla's fault; it's the driver's fault.
I know they signed the waiver. They know they haven't been misled at all.
And what was interesting in that, because I called AAA and I was like, dude, what? Do you guys just have to rescue EV people all the time? And he was like, not really, actually. And I'm like, really? How come? And he's like, because there's so few EVs and the people who own them really understand the technology, so
sure.
they tend to not actually get stranded by running out of battery charge.
Yeah,
they get stranded for other reasons.
Their
tires
panic attack
and stuff.
happens when there's 50 miles left, not when there's 7 miles left.
Right.
Yeah. And I think the cars in general do an okay job of warning you. You have this much charge. You must go to this station.
Well, he said
in
that
general.
They don't even really put gas into cars as often as they used to because the new cars warn you. And
the actual number of miles to empty versus the fuel gauge.
Yeah.
It does this shit. Yeah.
Hey, look, the Opel can probably hear you right now.
Listen, my Ferrari was jumping through the wall to punch me in the face. My Ferrari, Hannah was going to the garage at the house and goes, why does it smell like the inside of a gas can? You're like, well, that's because I have an old Italian car in here. But I get to say things like my Ferrari, and that makes it all worth it.
For a second, I was like, wow, you're cool.
My Ferrari is broken, by the way, in case you're wondering.
I just assumed.
The brake master cylinder took a shit, so I don't have brakes.
That's all right.
That's okay. I'll find them again.
My turbo Trans Am is also broken.
Oh, what's wrong with it?
I think the electronic spark control went out, but It died in the driveway after a 1,000-mile road trip.
That's considered a success, I think.
100%.
That's a gift from the car.
Yeah.
That's the car going, the equivalent of the car going, on the couch,
Which is basically what I did, too.
Can we talk about ramp trucks? Because you have two of them now, and I'm kind of into ramp trucks. Why'd you buy 2 ramp trucks?
Well, we started by buying 1 ramp truck.
Why'd you buy 1?
This was a long time ago, but when Tom and I were racing more, and we were like, oh, we should buy a ramp truck, and we can put the race car on the back, will be really cool when we go to the racetrack. And Prudhomme had just restored the Snake and Mongoose, like Hot Wheels trucks, and sold them at Barrett-Jackson, and it was like super cool. And so that was when we bought 1. It was a big project. We're still working on it. And once you own any car, people will send you ads for that car, right? Like I could at this point own like 7,000 Opals, right?
It's so funny. Why do people do that? You're like, I already have one. Stop it.
I mean, I think it's sort of sweet. It's like they think of you because you have this weird thing, and they don't have another way of sharing, or maybe they think maybe you want parts. I don't know. Anyway,
it's different if you like people or you don't like people. Yeah. So I'm coming at it from the not liking people.
I think it's nice. Please continue to send me ads for Opals. I'm not going to buy anymore. But anyway, so and it was actually David Freiberger from Roadkill who sent me an ad for this other ramp truck that was for sale, and I foolishly sent it to Tom, and I was out of town, and I came home,
and there was another
ramp truck. So basically, that one actually does run. Our plan is to restore the first one. The first one belonged to a famous racer. It was Dick Landy. It was a pro stock racer.
Okay,
it belonged to him. Theoretically, it might be something somebody wants, and it has some historical importance. So plan is to restore that back to stock, because our original plan was come and swap.
Oh, I remember you talking about this.
And enjoy it, but can't do that to a truck has like
history.
Right. I mean, we could, but I don't want to be that person. This other truck that we got, it also belonged to a pro stock racer, but not one who was that, did that much of importance, and not one whose people would be upset about it being modified. And so we could modify that one if we want.
Now, have you ever had a working ramp truck?
The white one's working right now, yeah.
Is it actually good for moving cars around compared to like a pickup and a trailer?
No.
It's not? Okay. Because like my friend Rob Ferretti, who runs Gotham Dream Cars, they use a ramp truck. And he had one built. Like there's someone who will Rob just bought a 2015 Chevy Duramax and sent it to this person, and they pull the bed off it and they extend it and they turn it into a ramp truck. And it's cheaper than a flatbed, and it's easier to drive and maneuver than a truck with a detachable enclosed trailer. And so he likes it for running their exotic rental cars around, locally. And now that we have a second shop, because I bought a second building and we're going to be opening a second shop, I'm trying to figure out what the best move is, and maybe a ramp truck.
I mean, if you're talking like a more modern one, then sure. I mean, we're talking 1968.
No, assume the fucking truck part of it is reliable and works. I'm just talking about the general concept of a ramp truck.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah. I mean, it's a smaller footprint.
Right. Smaller than a flatbed or a truck less complicated than a flatbed and smaller footprint than a truck and trailer.
Yeah. Then they're you get trade-offs, right? The center of gravity is not very good when you put a car up above, but I assume you're not doing a canyon run.
No, we're just driving around the city streets pretty much.
And then, with truck and trailer, especially with exotic cars, if you have a closed trailer,
now you're climbing out the window of the car.
Yeah, but also the car's safer, and people don't know what's in there. And if there's weather or something, when you're on an open trailer or an open truck of any sort, stuff can happen.
Right. It's an interesting concept.
They look so cool.
They look cool.
And I like having the tools right there. If it was like a race truck or something, even if it's not as easy to use as a closed trailer, it seems cool.
My friend Eli, who runs Auto Car Club in Scottsdale, it's a storage place like this one, but they focus a little more on the community. He bought a Vasek Polak truck, like original one, and it seems like I don't want to own that. It's old, like it's from the '60s, but like it was pretty fucking cool. It looked pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I would be a little nervous about strapping the car down, you know, on an angle a little bit versus just having it once it's parked, it's flat.
And then like with
look at that fucking Vasek Pollock truck.
show me again.
Oh, if you go
there's
to,
mine, the blue one.
The blue one is yours?
The like fucked up looking one?
That one?
No, down.
Oh, that one is yours?
That's what it looked like when we bought it.
Oh, man, that thing
Wow.
is fucking patinaed.
Which ocean did you pull it out of?
That's so
We
that's
pulled
so
it out
patinaed.
of pulled it out of an ocean called Indiana.
That sounds like a song.
Yeah,
The
but
Indian
it
Ocean.
looks a lot better now.
Wow. It's got a big like compartment back there too, like
Yeah, well, I mean, and it, like whoever had it. Well, I know the whole story of it, but like the person who had it before us was using it to haul like pulling tractors. So they had cut a bunch of the bed out and they cut the T-top box off. Like, do you see the Hot Wheels truck, the yellow one?
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah. That had a
originally
T-top box on it.
Yeah, so originally it had a T-top box, sort of like that one. Wow. You know, so
That one is cool. The
Yeah,
Hot Wheels one, that's super cool.
That's Prudhomme's.
Oh, it is?
Although now I think Evernham.
Wow.
It?
So that one had ramps that would attach to the back of it.
Yeah,
and
the
you would just
ramps
drive
are
up it.
tucked up underneath the car right now, and you would pull them out and attach them, and then take the car down. They're very tall. Like so right now on our second one, the one that runs, we've got a car up on it, and
that one's
looks
got
nice.
on rims. But if like Rob Ferretti's is like he did his like Air Force One livery. It's called like Ramp Force One, I think, and it's pretty funny. But it's just a basic, you know, Chevy truck with like the normal ramp kind of thing on the back of it, and it seems like an awfully good solution because it actually doesn't cost all that much to build.
Yeah,
like whoever the dude was that builds them, it wasn't that much. It was like I don't know, 10 or 15 grand plus a truck, which is like pretty affordable for if you're talking about a brand new truck.
Why don't you borrow his and see what it's like
He's
for a
in
week?
I could go to Jersey and just drive it around.
Yeah, just drive it around.
Get this one.
I don't want to drive it though. I don't want to. Oh, a cab over one. That's nice.
So sick.
It wouldn't be.
52
I wouldn't be
over.
driving it. Google Ramp Force One and let me see if a picture of Rob's truck comes up. It might. Oh, you could do one with an Econoline van front too, right? I'm pretty sure. No, you just get a lot of pictures of Air Force One. That's not it. You could do a van front too, right?
You can do whatever you want.
Anything as long as it's like a body on frame.
Ferrari front end.
Yes.
Graft it on there.
Yes. So even though he's not here, and we'll do a whole other show about it, you want to tell people about the book?
Oh yeah, I mean, so one of the things that I did at some point since the last time we did a show together was I wrote a book with Don Prudhomme, the snake. It's his biography. It's published by Cartech. It's like an actual book with like an ISBN number. It's like on Amazon and stuff. Like,
It's going to have a Dewey Decimal number in the
Probably.
library system. It probably does, right?
probably. So anyway, so that
5
exists.
stars, 97 ratings on Amazon. Woohoo!
Yeah, I gotta say, it doesn't suck that much.
No?
Yeah,
It's good?
He told some good stories, and I did an okay job of putting them into one place. So
Well, so I imagine many of folks listening to the show are casually familiar with the name, but give me the short bio is who is Don the Snake Prudhomme?
So when drag racing sort of became mainstream, which sort of started in the 60s, Don Prudhomme and his racing partner, Tom McEwen, were two of the most famous drag racers. I mean, they were like superstars in the late 60s. They traveled all around the country. They were on like, you know, sports shows. They were in like Life magazine.
Was drag racing was like more mainstream then than it is now,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Like it was at one point kind of neck and neck with NASCAR as to, you know, I would say even ahead of it. You know, it was just like a part of the culture, you know, because they had these like crazy hippies and these wild paint jobs and
also muscle cars.
Muscle cars
like
were a big
the thing.
deal.
Yeah. Like
and then Hot
all
Wheels
cars were muscle cars back then.
Like
unless
Hot
it was a
Wheels
Beetle.
partnered with Prudhomme and McEwen. They had nicknames, the Snake and the Mongoose. That was another big deal. Was like they had these cool nicknames. Hot Wheels sponsored them. That was like the first major non-automotive sponsorship in, I believe, any racing, but certainly in drag racing. And they made little toy cars of their race cars, and so basically
the originals are worth a fuckload of money.
So basically, everybody was playing with these cars, whether you were really into racing or not, and they're pretty rad. So
there you go. That's a cool one.
Yeah.
He was driving it's a Cuda, right?
Yeah,
he had a Cuda.
There was like a Cuda and a Duster.
That was what the Mongoose was, a Duster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of the things with Prudhomme is that, unlike a lot of the early racers, his career continued all the way up, to modern times racing. He raced for a long time. He won 4 championships. And then he owned a race team, won more championships as a race team owner. Still involved with racing today. He's good friends with John Force. And
what's he doing today?
He's retired. I mean, he's 81, but he might be 80.
Making appearances.
For making him older.
Shaking hands and kissing babies.
He's really good friends with Chip Ganassi. He goes to a lot of IndyCar races. But one of the things that was interesting in talking to him about the book, and you'll have to talk to him about this if he comes in to visit.
Well, the intention was for him to be here with you today.
That far more
it didn't work out
because
of our dumb scheduling, but we'll get it done.
He went for a ride with Niki Lauda in Italy in a Ferrari, in the 70s. The dude was around. He did cool stuff way beyond just drag racing. So if for some reason you don't like drag racing, I can't imagine why. There's lot more to him
other
than
F1
that.
racers and IndyCar racers at the time they were into him kind of being around. It was all the same level of respect.
Yeah, and I mean he was sort of special that way because he had a Ford sponsorship in the late 60s, so he met Dan Gurney and Foyt and Mario Andretti. He and Mario Andretti are really good friends.
That's not shocking. They're the same level of gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the Audrain, I just saw Dan Gurney's Eagle F1 car. They were showing it, and it was next to another. Dan Gurney was fucking tall.
Yes.
He was one of the tallest F1 drivers ever. I think he was 6'5" or something. And the Gurney bubble, right?
Yeah,
the
right.
reason they fucking they made a roof for him. His F1 car compared to, I forget who the other person's car was next to him from the same year. His car was 8 inches longer than the car next to him. And you looked at the driver's seat, you go, actually, by F1 standards, that looks pretty comfy in there. It was pretty lounged out. Yeah, the Gurney Eagle.
Yeah,
legit F1 car. Yeah.
So Prudhomme had a pretty funny story about Gurney telling him basically, pound sand when Prudhomme was like, well, hey, what you're doing looks pretty fun. I kind of want to do that. This was in the 60s. And he said, Gurney says to him, if you really want to, you'll find a way. And Don's like, yeah, at the time, he's like, I was 25 or something. I was like, what an asshole. But later, now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, that's 100% true. And I say it to people all the time. They're probably like, what an asshole.
Yeah. Sometimes reality is kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
People, that's like a Kimi Räikkönen response. You know what I mean? I wonder if, did he ever try his hand at other types of racing at all?
He did the celebrity races for IndyCar, and I think he actually won one, maybe a Detroit one.
Nice.
But he said he just, he's like, I
really like it when the race is over in 9 seconds.
He's always been very, very good at recognizing opportunity and being fairly honest with himself about what he can really win at.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like to do things that he's going to be mediocre at. I mean, I've
Sounds
experienced
like a racing
that
driver.
with him just even as a friend and knowing him for a long time. And so I think he realized pretty quickly that he could be an also-ran in any other kind of racing, or he could be a superstar in what he was good at.
What kind of numbers was that Cuda running in the quarter mile back in the day?
Geez, that's a good test.
It was like a 9-second car?
No, I think they might have been in the 7s already by
then.
Really?
Oh, they were fucking quick back in the day. Oh, yeah.
Because I remember once, so if you look up 1970 funny car time, Zach, I remember once, a long, long time ago, before he sold most of his cars, but I remember once being at his collection before he sold most of his cars, and I was sitting in one of the cars, and it's just an empty box. You're just sitting in a little tiny thing, and then there's some moving parts between your legs and a little tiny steering wheel, and I remember,
here we go.
I remember being like, weren't you Weren't you scared? Yeah, so...
Jesus, 1969. Someone,
so they're running 200.
First time to crack 200. 1969 in a quarter mile. I mean, that's fucking... Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
740,
760. Oh, yeah, this is...
All right.
Yeah, turns out the author of the book knows something about it.
But, yeah, so I asked him, I'm like, dude,
go.
weren't you freaked out? Like, just like sitting in here in like your little like tinfoil racing suit? And he's like, no, these cars weren't that fast back then. I'm like, dude...
Sevens. You can get used to anything.
Yeah, that's what somebody who spent their life going 4-second,
I mean, you can buy,
300 miles.
I've done a 9-second quarter mile on the fucking street in a supercar. You know what I mean? Like in a McLaren LT. Like you can just do that shit
It's
now.
so easy in the McLaren too.
Yeah.
It's so easy. I just got licensed, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah.
NHRA?
Yeah.
To run what?
To run up to 750.
Whoa,
Or
cool.
down to 750. I haven't
What's
run
that
750.
process like?
It's like very slow. It's so I did it by going to Frank Hawley's drag racing school.
Oh, cool.
It wasn't for work. I ended up writing about it, but like I paid for it myself. Like it wasn't like
Disclaimer.
a press thing.
Okay.
And because I just wanted to.
So what happens at a drag racing school?
So there is a lot of classroom.
Really?
Yeah, and the thing that's so crazy is like, so it's 2 days, 6 runs.
That is not much seat time.
It's not much seat time. And the way that they do it is like, basically you get in the car.
Yeah.
You do a burnout.
Uh-huh.
You launch the car and you coast to the end of the,
You don't even do the run.
You don't do the run.
You
launch
just do the
car,
launch and then coast it out.
Coast it out.
Because it's all about the launch. Once you're going straight.
Well, it's
right?
all about
protecting their cars.
It's about protecting their cars, but this is actually the process for NHRA licensing. So whether you did this at school or you did this on your own in your own car or in a borrowed car, you would have to do it the same way. Basically, what they're worried about, and it won't make sense to anyone who hasn't driven a very quick car on a drag strip, but like what they're worried about is you proving that you know where you are on a drag strip. Because being lost on a drag strip, which doesn't sound possible, is about the most dangerous thing that you can be.
Meaning if you stay flat, like long past the finish line.
Do you not know where the finish line is? Do you not know what pointed straight is? Like, and that sort of stuff seems like impossible to mess up, but like
it
once
happens.
You're all strapped in, you've got helmets on, things are going very fast. I mean, once you start launching a car that, with like a 0 to 60 time that's like under 3 seconds, you start really feeling it. And like with the quicker you go, like your eyes get blurry.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've driven an 8-second car and like your eyes get blurry. And I heard that with like funny cars and stuff, they stay blurry.
Whoa.
The whole time.
That would make sense. I mean, that does. The math of it makes sense.
So they really just want you to know where you are and prove that you know where you are, prove you know the difference between your gas pedal and your brake, prove that you can keep it going
basics.
straight. And so basically it's like you launch it. If you do that good, they sign off on you. You go like, to like a third of the track.
Mm-hmm.
You do that good, you get to go half track, and then you make 3 full passes at the speed that you're licensing for, and then you can get signed off on.
And you're doing it in their cars.
Yeah, these are in school cars.
So what are the school cars?
I was in a Firebird, like a big block Chevy powered 4th gen Firebird, fiberglass car. They
like 2-speed power glide kind of thing?
Didn't even have to shift it.
Didn't even shift it.
Yeah.
Single speed.
Well, I mean, it's a 2-speed, but it'll do it itself.
Oh, you just leave it in. Oh, okay,
You launch it, and it's got a solenoid in it.
And it's got a trans brake, and you're dumping the trans brake.
And a line lock. You're leaving off a trans brake. And so it's a lot of that kind of practice stuff, because like leaving off a trans brake is weird if you're used to foot braking a car.
Sure.
Because
it's a button.
It's a button, and it's hard to not pull your foot up and your thumb up at the same time. So like I spent a lot of time in my hotel room the night before just like visualizing that. And like,
did you sit in the bathtub and hold a
really just like hold a paper
to
plate
really feel like it?
No, I sat in the office chair. But the thing that was really interesting about Holly's school, because that's the process you do no matter what. Like if it's your own car, you still have to do you do those. You get the time slips. You have someone sign off on them. You send them into NHRA with your money, and then you get a license. But with Holly's school, you would do it. We'd all go back up to the classroom. He videotaped everybody. They play your video, and he goes through it. And holy shit, dude is merciless.
Really? A lot of nuance that people are missing out on?
Yeah, if you ever want to see a bunch of grown men close to tears, take a drag racing class with Frank Hawley. It was great. I really, really learned a lot about, I don't know, I guess about like the concept of performance. He talks a lot about mental stuff, and he's like, none of this is really going to make a lot of sense to you guys at the speed you're going, but if you want to drive a fast car, we're driving cars that run 150 miles an hour, 9 seconds, and he's like, if you want to drive a fast car.
Are you pulling a parachute at that speed?
You don't need to. Yeah, you can use the brakes. So I have not yet pulled a parachute. I would like to.
I pulled a parachute at Bonneville. It was every bit as awesome as you think it is.
It looks awesome.
It was so fucking great to pull the chute.
What were you driving at Bonneville?
A Jetta.
Oh, you were on that.
I drove the Jetta. Yeah, I did 211 miles an hour at Bonneville in a Jetta and
so
fucking
good.
pulled the chute. It was the coolest. And if I'd known that I wouldn't have gotten in trouble, I would have gone for 220. I had more. It had more. I had room. And if I'd known, they told me to shut it down at 210.
Yeah.
But I was like, fuck that, 211. But I really should have gone for fucking.
It's so hard to decide on those things, especially like press things, because you're like, you know that they're like trying to keep you from like damaging their stuff so that the next guy can do it.
Yeah.
But then like, you don't want to be that guy who like, because what if it does go wrong? I had that experience when I did that Honda lawnmower thing where it was just like, oh, I could have gone faster. If I had just one more run,
I remember that the really fast Honda lawnmower went like 90, right, or something.
No, it was like 112.
Really, in a lawnmower? That rules.
It was stupid. I can't believe I did it. I feel like if you asked me to do it right now, I'd be like, fuck. No.
Have you seen the Bird Scooter Racing League yet?
No.
They have a fucking mobility scooter like racing league.
How quick do they go?
I don't know, but the guys, they're in full leathers, and it's really like it's a whole fucking thing. So where is this Frank Hawley school? Where on the country is it?
He's based in Florida, and it's cheapest if you go to their home track in Florida, but they do travel around.
The tour.
So I did it up in Oregon at a track called Woodburn. They just did one in Bakersfield.
Cool.
I think they do one in the South as well.
Is it if you don't really care about the license, but you just want to? I mean, it doesn't sound like it's the kind of thing that you would just do recreationally.
I wouldn't recommend the school recreationally because it's expensive. But they do an experience. They call it the Dragster Experience, which is a one-day thing, and it's more like $800, and you also get to make 6 runs. You just don't get any of the coaching and training and discussion. And I've done that before, and it's super, super fun.
Dragsters.
Yeah, dragsters.
That seems like
they're like 8-second dragsters.
Yeah, $800
like,
for a day running dragsters. That
Yeah.
seems like a really good
It was
time.
super fun.
Yeah, that seems like a good value for money. Yeah, absolutely.
But if you are planning on racing, and you do need to license, I would 100% recommend the course. I really it was useful to me in a lot of ways beyond just like getting the paperwork to do the license.
Did you find the classroom stuff to be interesting?
I did. I mean, and I'm interested in that stuff anyway because, I'm not out here to become a race car driver. I'm out here to write about people who become race car drivers and people who design cars and and so anything that gives me insight into how people think and what their challenges are, I find incredibly valuable. And Frank is really a very thoughtful man and a good coach. Like the stuff that he talked about was super interesting. Like for example, did you know every time you move your eyeballs, you're blind for like a fraction of a second?
There's a blur in between your two fixed positions.
Okay, I can't prove it to you because I don't have a mirror, but like you can't see your eyeballs moving in a mirror. Other people can watch it. Like I can see your eyeballs moving,
concept.
But if you try to,
I'm trying to like move my eyeballs
I
around.
know you look like a dork.
I don't think I'm learning anything, but yeah, okay.
Like you can't see them because like your brain is not able to like put together the information while you're moving your eyes around. That so
that makes sense.
So basically, it's recreating the environment in the like fractions of second. It's kind of like how cameras, the anti-shake and stuff, like they're fixing like a moment where the picture isn't there.
Yeah, they put some guesswork
that.
And some math together to do it. Yeah.
So in driving, this is part of why it's so important to have like a good image of like what's around you and keep that as a mental picture Like no matter what kind of driving it is, whether it's like on the freeway or because like I had this on the way here because my rear view mirror fell off the Opel just now, and
got some glue downstairs.
Yeah, I might need it or some duct tape. But it's like I was really having to like check and then remember what was way back on that side because I could not see it.
I'm always doing that. I'm always like running flashcards. So I'll do my cycle of looking through the mirrors and then looking forward, and I'm like running flashcards of like, okay, there's a silver Toyota there, there's an SUV back here, and I'm doing that on repeat over and over, which my dad just taught me to do when I was a kid. He was like, this is how you drive.
Yeah.
You drive by going forward, mirror, 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 memory, forward, mirror, 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 memory, and I do that over and over when I drive. That's just like how I learned to drive. But that makes sense. So when you're drag racing, is the point of that exercise of knowing that bit of knowledge to remain focused down the track without shifting your eyes all over the place?
The point in drag racing is that if you're going very, very quickly, and he's talking, I mean, more quickly than we were going, 6 seconds, 5 seconds. If you look away if you're looking over here for a while.
As in if you're racing somebody.
You are moving a huge amount of distance in that time, and what your brain is going to have as its like environment will not be accurate by the time you move your eyes back straight.
How
so
interesting.
It was about always maintaining like a forward focus while in motion. And so, yes, what you said.
And I guess when they're drag racing, it's really, you don't want to be looking over there at the other person you're racing against and checking constantly. Whereas, I guess if you're running below 7 seconds, you're no longer bracket racing. So, you know what I mean? You don't need to make that adjustment.
Usually not, yeah.
I don't know. Do people bracket race that fast? I guess maybe they do, but not very many, right?
Yeah, I think it's...
Bracket racing stops at like the 9s.
I mean,
really.
Usually why would you? At that
You're
point,
a professional at that point,
you can do heads-up racing with other people running that quickly. And
Yeah,
bracket racing basically exists so that people who are running like 15-second cars can have as much fun as somebody running a 10-second car.
That was me in high school.
That's still me. I love bracket racing.
Bracket racing's fun. There was a guy back in the day when me and Larry Casilla would bracket race our Mustangs at Englishtown. There was a guy who had a system. He would rent a Ford Taurus from the airport or from Hertz or wherever, and he fucking knew that this shitbox would run a 16.7 like clockwork. And he showed up and he'd be eating a fucking ice cream cone going through the burnout box, and this dude would just run 16 seconds, 67, over and over and over, and he would take home trophies. And he would take home money.
The first trophy I ever won was in like a 17-second wagon. Can I brag for a second?
Brag for a minute.
So they didn't give us any times while we're taking the class, right? And then at the end, you get all your time slips. And I don't know, like I didn't know what anybody else had run. And, I got my time slips. And I was genuinely not sure that I was doing a good job during the class. Like I was having, I felt like I was having trouble with staging. And, I knew I was doing a good job of the, like, once I was going down the track part. Because I know that part. But, like, I hadn't been in a car like that before. I was pretty insecure.
A lot of pressure.
A
lot has to happen in a very short period of time.
Yes.
With all the settings and then the tree and all that. Yeah.
So I get my time slips and they're like 9:06, 9:07, like 9:17 maybe. So I'm like, I wonder if that's good or not. So and like I didn't want to be that person who's like asking anybody else what they ran or anything like that. So I'm like not going to do that. But I went down and I was talking to one of the crew guys and I was like, so, I mean, I know it's kind of like a hot day here, but like in theory, what's the best that these cars could run? And he's like, on a perfect track, on a perfect day, maybe like 890s.
Wow.
I'm like,
well, that's pretty good.
I'm like, all right, well, what do you think would be like the best here? And he's like, maybe 9 flat. And I was like, yes.
Oh, that's good. There you go. That's very good.
So I was very proud of
myself. Yeah, you're running good. That's nice. That seems like a very interesting experience, honestly. Because it's a lot of it's very unfamiliar to people, like trans brake starting and shit like that. That's a unique set of skills.
Well, and it was everyone there at my class was not a beginner, and so it was very interesting to realize that even people who'd been doing it for decades had various different things that they found difficult about doing it in this car and doing it with someone giving them feedback.
Yeah. You find that at racing schools and track days as well.
Well, and just like realizing how hard it is to learn something new and to be told that you're fucking it up when you think you're good at it.
Well, that's why
amazing.
women are better students.
Yeah, because people tell us we're bad at shit all the time. We're really used to it.
No, women just tend to have so much less ego about learning things than men do, I think.
No, for real, it's because people tell us we're bad at stuff all the time.
Oh,
so we
really?
just assume that that's probably true.
Oh. Well, unfortunately, I don't say that. But I've every driving instructor I've ever worked with is always happy to teach women because they have much lower of an ego about learning things from the ground up. And men always try to bring in their own whatever they think is a knowledge base that's often fucking wrong, and they don't like to be brought down to nothing and relearned.
You would have loved watching this happen through, like, in the class. I mean, and like, to give everyone credit, like, initially there was a lot of pushback from some of the guys who felt that they were not doing it wrong. A lot of desire to kind of put what was going on to the car, and rather than be like, I fucked it up, to be like, the car's doing this.
Yeah.
But I mean, partially because Frank is, as I said, merciless.
Yeah.
But also because everyone who was there did really want to get better. By the end, it was such a different vibe in the classroom, and it was really, really interesting to like watch people absorb that they like could not get better until they had acknowledged that they were doing something that wasn't the right thing. And
this is Kitchen Nightmares. This is an episode of Kitchen Nightmares. This is exactly the structure of the episode. They fucking fight with Gordon.
Yeah.
Eventually they realize it is their fault that their restaurant is in the fucking shitter. And then they
then there's the part where everybody's super depressed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
yeah, they have that
like,
too.
I'm terrible at this.
That's right after the first commercial break.
Yeah. Well, and so there was only me and one other woman in the class, and so at one point we were both in the bathroom, and she's like, I'm gonna have a cry. And I was like, oh yeah, go for it. I did earlier. And she's like, why did you cry? You're doing great. And I was like, I like to cry. And she's like, I only recently started driving again. You know, I didn't drive for a few years because I was in a car accident where a motorcyclist hit a bear and then hit my car, and then they both died, and I was in the hospital for like 3 months.
Whoa.
And I was like, wait, what?
What?
And she's like, but I really wanted to come do this, And I was like, you're driving an 8-second dragster
and
now?
you've like not driven it.
To get back in. And I was like, all right, I am not going to complain anymore.
That's the jolt right
and
there.
I am going to visualize this woman every time I feel insecure about something I'm doing. I'm going to be like,
motorcyclist into a bear into my car. Fuck me.
Did the
That's
bear
an accident.
and the motorcycle hit her car, or just the bike?
Did you ask for details on this one?
You have to. What's her name?
I looked up the newspaper article about it. It's actually really sucks. Like, it sounded really upsetting.
Yeah, I bet.
The motorcyclist hit a bear. The bear died. The motorcyclist hit her car. The motorcyclist died. Her car went off the road.
Terrible. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's awful. But like, it also was just such a dramatic.
What state was that from? It's like Oregon,
Pacific
probably.
Northwest,
yeah, Oregon, yeah.
It was just like such a dramatic example, though, of like what people can get over, and like how, how it's so easy to just be like, oh God, I'm having trouble with something, I can't possibly like get better at it, and then it's like, dude, at least a bear never hit your car.
Yeah.
I would never drive again if
I
that
had a friend
happened to
whose
me.
father in high school got killed when he hit a moose. This truck.
That's terrible.
Moose went right through the fucking windshield of the truck. Killed the guy.
Moose are very dangerous because
Super
they're
dangerous.
basically refrigerators on stilts.
Yeah, because you hit the legs out, and then you get 2,000 pounds of moose through the windshield. Fucking crazy.
Do not recommend.
No, I'm not about that. Sorry.
It's not funny, dude. What a bummer.
I know, super bummer. But that sounds like a really interesting experience. I mean, I don't have a need to go 8 seconds, but it's like the kind of thing, like growing up around, my best friends were drag racers. Like, my first racing experience was drag racing before I ever tried a road course or anything. And so remembering my friend Jimmy's dad had this little assembly. It was like it was like a trans brake launch simulator. You know what I mean? And he would sit in his car. He had a 74 GTO, big block. It was like a 9-second car, and he would sit in the car the simulator connected to the actual wheel of the car. So he like disconnected whatever the fuck and connected the thing. And it was a tree. It sat on the hood, and he would look out the windshield and just practice his trans brake drops like over and over. And he's like, "You just took me back there to doing that." Yeah, I bet this guy, who was a very sweet guy, but I bet he would be broken down by Frank Hawley. I mean, he's been doing it for 40 years. Yeah. I don't need to learn nothing. Yeah.
Well, I recommend getting a good beat down by Frank Hawley.
That seems fun. It seems interesting. Yeah. I went to art school, and I've sat through art critiques.
It's exactly like art critiques.
So I've had the shit beat out of me in art critiques before. So I was terrible at drawing, and I was terrible at painting, and I had to do all them things, and I got the absolute shit beat out of me in art critiques. So I could handle that. Yeah. Do we have questions from the Patreon?
We got a couple.
If you want to ask us questions for the show, the only way to do that is to join our Patreon and become a patron at patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. We've got packages that allow you to watch the live streams and ask questions, packages that allow you to have a completely ad-free experience, and the Top Pro Driver package gets you early access to all the episodes as well as a bonus 9th show every month. It's going well with the Patreon thing.
That's great.
Yeah. You got to kind of keep it going, but it's going well. And so our questions, we've got My Garage Bay. What is your favorite road trip destination? Well, I suppose it depends on where you start, doesn't it?
And what you're driving.
I mean, rather than a road trip destination, I'd say my favorite place is to drive a fun car. Switzerland just is the game over. The Swiss Alps is just so extraordinary. The Pacific Northwest is pretty amazing. What about you?
For me, it's more about like a route that I've never been on before, because I really like stopping a lot. You know, I know you talked to Mike Musto about the road trip that we did for Hemmings.
Oh yeah, I was going to get to that, but then
we got busy.
We were talking about drag racing
and
instead.
Yeah, and so that kind of thing where it's like, you know, like, oh, where does this road go? That's kind of my thing with road trips, is like, and again, going back to the electric
meaning
car.
Like not having to plan too much, just finding out where the road goes.
Yeah, and then just like stopping every time there's something interesting. I mean, one of the best.
I have a hard time with that.
I know, so did Mike.
Stuff.
I forced him, but like one of my best road trip stops ever was on a trip, and it was through Texas, and I happened to see a sign for the Permian Basin Oil Museum, and like in the back of my head, I'm like, I think that's where the Chaparral cars are. Oh. So I stopped, and it's the fucking Chaparral Car Museum, and like all of them were there, and it was just like, you would never in a million years have expected that, and it was like I just like vaguely remembered something about like this weird museum being the.
Hannah and I were looking for something to do culturally on our recent trip to the Central Coast, and in Buellton there's a gas pump museum. Mm-hmm. And I found out that you can't just walk in; you need to make an appointment for it. So we were there, standing at a locked door, and I called the number. He goes, "I don't know if I can get you in today. The tours are guided only, and they're 2 hours. 2 fucking hours." The tours of the Louvre aren't 2 fucking hours. What the fuck?
Oh, man.
But we did stop. You know, they had the tarantula mating season in the Central Coast, and Hannah had never seen a tarantula. So I kept seeing them walk across the road, so we stopped to look at tarantulas,
And was she pleased?
Yes. Yeah. She was freaked out. She didn't put her purse on the ground the whole rest of the trip. But she was happy that she got to see a living, breathing tarantula.
They're pretty cool.
We're just skipping just the ones for Elana first, and then we'll come back to the other ones? Okay. Myron, our friend Myron Vernus. You know Myron?
The name
They
sounds
called
familiar.
him Mr. Jalopnik for a while. Junkman356 on Instagram.
Yeah.
He has the weirdest cars. He's fucking great. He buys the weirdest shit. Currently in the hunt for a vintage ramp truck. Where can he find one?
Well, so it is a much easier task if you want a smaller ramp truck, like a 3/4 ton truck ramp single car thing.
Yours is like a quad cab giant thing.
Ours is like just below a semi truck. So if you want one of those, good luck, man. But if you just want like a smaller single car ramp truck, they're out there. You could probably you know, if you start looking at like in like the racing, like various different racing classifieds, you can find them there. We found ours by putting an ad in National Dragster saying we were looking for one. That was how we found the first one. So
good tip.
There you go.
They don't do that anymore. They don't advertise seeking anymore, you know?
Desperately seeking ramp truck.
Adam Dolan really enjoys the road to improvement on Hemmings. Alana and Mike are doing a great job. It's an interesting new take in combination of the road trip and modification enhancement genres. It deserves to be receiving vast multiples of more views. I agree. The Road to Improvement is a great series. I think the reason it's not getting more views is because Hemmings is a brand new channel. Yeah. And you need an audience before you release things. But they're doing it again, I think, right?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I hope Mike's doing it. It was pretty fun.
I hope that doesn't blow up anyone's spot. But last I talked to him, he said they were planning on doing another one. And he's really enjoying that Suburban.
That wasn't a question, but I appreciate compliments as well. So feel free to bring those back.
Yeah, and then we've got a few just regular car advice questions. We'll get to.
I'm down. I drive regular cars now.
Fucking this guy gave me a name pronouncement correction on the last show, and I don't remember what he said. I'm going to mispronounce your name again, Prashanth. I'm sorry. He was like, last show is, by the way, my name's pronounced like this. I saw it. I don't remember what it was, but let's go back to his question. I'm sorry. Do you think millennials and Gen Zers will revere the muscle cars that we have now the same way boomers revered the ones that they had then?
I mean, I think that there is a pretty regular nostalgia curve that is almost always going to happen at almost always the same amount of time.
Yeah. The shit that you drove in high school or the shit that you wanted in high school but couldn't afford, 25 years later, when you get to 40, will become popular again. For our generation, we're looking at the Japanese stuff right now.
Yeah, and all the Radwood stuff.
The Supras, the Honda S2000s, the Toyota 86s, the Mazda RX-7s, all that kind of stuff that, you know, they get cheap, they get junked, and then you realize they're hard to find a good one, and then they get valuable. And you know, people want to relive their youths.
I mean, I'm like completely anti-nostalgia. But I know
says the person with 75 old cars.
I know, but I don't have nostalgia for them. I have no personal connection, like from I didn't exist when all those cars existed, and I don't want to go back in time to that time period. That time period sucked for women and Jews. But like, I like the challenge of I like to put something old into a modern environment. What's the right word for it? You know, when like basically when things don't match up. It's like almost the opposite of nostalgia. I don't want to be back in the time when these were new cars. I want to continue to use these weird technologies or these old technologies, or just like be a visual difference in contemporary times.
I think you're a bit. I think that's a great reason to keep old cars around. Like, and it makes sense for your personality. I think that's not the driver of the market in general.
100% not. Everyone else likes nostalgia. I'm just letting everyone know that I am not nostalgic.
Yeah, I own the cars, and if you look at all the cars I've owned, the vast majority of the cool ones were ones that I wanted when I was a younger child. You know, all of my cool shit is from 1985 to 1991.
Yeah, I mean, you're a poster car guy.
I'm a poster car guy, and so that's where I shop. You know, and I think other people will probably shop that way as well.
For sure.
Chris Nolke, if you had to choose between a new 718 Spider and a 718 GT4 for a fun weekend car, assuming NorCal, which would you choose and why? I mean, these are the same car.
Yeah,
they're exactly the same car.
Do you like top down or not? I don't particularly like top down. I like
because you have hair.
I agree with her.
I think the cars look better with a hard top, and I'm very, very vain. And then also, I feel like convertibles.
If you asked me to come up with an adjective about you, very, very vain is not what I would come up with.
I know. Looking at me, you wouldn't think I care about looks at all.
Forget looking at you. Your personality is not that.
But the thing with convertibles is convertibles are fun for like 3 minutes, and they are fun if you are next to a beach driving about 7 miles an hour. They are not fun in any other situation.
That's funny.
When I was going up to Pebble Beach over the summer, I did the Mercedes SL drive, and so we had all the tops down, for photos, and it fucking sucked, man. It sucked. All I wanted was that top up and the air conditioning on. So
you know what? I'm a counterpoint you. I do like a convertible as long as it doesn't ruin how the car drives. Now there's some instances where the coupe and the convertible drive wildly differently.
Yeah, less and less.
It's getting better. Like in the case of this person, the 718 Spider and the 718 GT4 drive identically, and the Spider, considering it's the quote manual, top, is not that annoying. You can put the top up and down pretty quickly. And considering it's like the thin, lightweight top and not like the luxury Boxster thicker top, I drove one in NorCal, it still provided good insulation. So that's not an us question.
So
that's
it's a tiebreaker.
It's a tie.
I go GT4.
Zach's a coupe person.
Yeah.
I, with no hair and really good French sunscreen, I like a convertible. I do. As long as it doesn't ruin how the car drives. Yeah. Ryan ordered a 2022 Cadillac CTS with a stick.
Good
giving
job.
Up my 2015 Chevy SS. I ordered a stick, parking package, and first aid kit. First aid kit. That's important. No fancy brakes or okay. Look at the Cadillac order configurator. What else should I get? Oh,
We're not going to do that.
We don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
But should he get like the fancy brakes or carbon package or anything?
Yes, you should get the fancy brakes. You're talking about a fucking fat pig of a car with 650 horsepower. You buy the best brakes they will sell you.
That is a car where I would spring for the brakes.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, why bother going like 5 at all? Just get the 4 and chill.
Cut the first aid kit, get the brakes.
Yeah.
Well, he needs the first aid kit because there's no brakes.
CVS will sell you a first aid kit. You can throw that shit.
But that's
in the
a great
trunk.
car. Did you drive it yet?
No, they haven't come to LA
it's
yet.
So good.
I think I've bugged the GM guy 3 or 4 times about
like it.
They swear they will get us one when one is available. Zach and I have, over the next few weeks, such a glut of press cars. The next week, is it next weekend? Next weekend we have 3 press cars and a press motorcycle all at the same time.
It's always that way, and it's always when you have like a bunch of other stuff
to do.
Which we do.
Yeah.
It's, because we have to cram it all around our travel. We've been traveling and we're going to be traveling, so we need videos. And so they're all...
What a terrible, terrible problem we have.
It's not a terrible problem. I mean, the terrible problem is that we won't get to give each of them the full amount of attention that we might otherwise if we just had one. But if we only had one at a time, we wouldn't have enough videos to satisfy our advertisers. And so it is what it is. We need videos. We need cars to make the videos. And so we have a glut of press cars for a weekend. We have an Audi RS7, a Jeep 392 Wrangler,
very fun,
and the Mach-E GT all at the same time, and the Harley Livewire electric motorcycle, which I'm kind of excited for.
I owe a debt of gratitude to the Harley Livewire. Going all the way back to where you find charging stations in Wyoming.
Oh, ask the bikers.
Go to the Harley dealership.
Oh, the Harley dealership, because they were probably required by corporate to put them in. How interesting. All right, that doesn't have to give away your whole story, but that's a fun that's a fun tidbit. Yeah, and if you can't find a Harley dealership, find a Porsche dealership, because Porsche has to put in 150s. They have to put in fast chargers as part of their agreements. Last question before we get out of here, Scott Hamill. 2016 to 2019 BMW 440 xDrive is one of the last all-wheel drive manual transmission cars out there. Do they suck? I haven't driven one.
I haven't either. I know BMW shifters are kind of meh. I'm sure it'll be quick and sturdy in all conditions, and the shifting action won't be magical.
Every time I've driven an all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive version of the same BMW, the all-wheel drive version is vastly worse.
I'm just not totally sure, why they want both a manual and all-wheel drive.
Well, I mean, there's a reasonable use case for each of those things. If you live in a very snowy and very hilly climate, If you live in Colorado, I could understand why you'd want a manual all-wheel drive car. That does make some sense. It does. I get it. Because there's not like crazy traffic, so you're not like miserable.
I mean, my thing with all-wheel drive is like I recognize how excellent it is, but it's a definite like damper on what I would call raw driving feel. And my thing with manuals in a modern car is that you can no longer claim that the manual is like a performance improvement.
Correct.
Over most automatics.
Correct. But it is more fun in some cases.
It is more fun. But so I'm just sort of like if I wanted a manual, I would probably also want rear-wheel drive. I would just want to go all raw.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, some people don't have the luxury of multiple cars. They need one car for all the time.
Yeah, I mean, no one should ever take advice from me about that sort of stuff because, I mean, you saw what I drove here in.
I know. We have to project ourselves into their bodies for this one. Mm-hmm. There's not a right answer for that, unfortunately. The all-wheel drive BMWs drive worse than the rear-wheel drive ones. They have worse steering. They're more understeery. They're heavier. But if you really need the all-wheel drive and snow tires alone won't cut it, your selections are limited.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. I would not say they suck, but like I drove the regular 440 and it's not going to be as good as that. Car and driver.
Yes.
EV road trip versus a train.
Mm-hmm. Car and driver full-time, by the way.
Oh, you have a full-time job now?
Yeah, full-time job. They hired me. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Somebody hired me?
Nobody gets full-time jobs anymore. That rules. And it's a great business card to have, too.
It's a great business card. It's a great team. I am very excited about it.
And Sharon is a good editor.
She's a great editor. She's a good boss. It's very cool to work on a team that has more than one woman on it.
Senior editor features.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
There you go.
That's excellent. I can't wait to read your RS GT piece.
I hope you like it.
Yeah, I mean, I love trains.
Oh, dude. Well,
before I liked cars, I was obsessed with trains.
I mean, when we're done with this, we can talk trains.
Have you been to the train museum in Pennsylvania?
No,
there's a very good train museum there.
I got help from that guy because I was trying to figure out never mind. This is for us later.
I want to. Do you have a desire to take one of those luxury train trips? I really want to take one.
Dude, I would spend so much time on multiple different kinds of trains if I was given the opportunity.
I hear the Trans Canada one is the one to do.
Ooh,
that one seems really dope. Yeah. Do you get when you take those train trips? Do you get like as much time in the little towns as you would on like a cruise ship? Do you get like hours to explore the towns? Is it just like?
I mean, my train expertise currently is in steam freight locomotives. So
when you're hoboing, when you're jumping trains with your pack on a stick.
Would you like to know some hobo signs for when there's like a friendly housewife?
Do you know this?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, well, the hobos had all these they were like hieroglyphics that they would mark on like rocks or mailboxes and stuff that would be like, this is a friendly housewife who would feed you, or like, this guy has a shotgun and he's not even going to warn you.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Hobo marks.
Like hobo hieroglyphics? Mm-hmm. Now we're talking. Now that's a fucking story. When you jump ship to Car and Driver to Train and Rider, it'll be
to Hobo Monthly.
Is there a Train Enthusiast magazine?
There's several. Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah.
That's another show. Thanks, Lana. It's always so good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Tell Tom I said hello.
Thanks everyone for listening.
You'll have to come back over for dinner and cat time again. Yes. The cats are being crazy as usual. We'll get on that ramp truck status for later. That's our show. We got a crew show tomorrow.
Or Spike?
Oh, no, not a crew show. Yeah, Spike Ferriston's coming in tomorrow afternoon for the live folks. And for everybody else, we will see you next week. Bye.